it is now a recession environment. Well, that's what's in the news. Regardless, McDonald's is focusing on accelerating. They're not pulling back, they're focusing on accelerating.
Warning: Damian Andrews' growing revenue and profit, if implemented, will put more money in your pocket. Please use with caution.
Damian Andrews here for growing revenue and profit, and continuing a part 2 discussion regarding McDonald's sales increase of 12.6% in a recessive environment. And how do they do that? How do you avoid falling behind in business? And what was the focus? And we talked about in the previous videos that McDonald's CEO had underlined the importance of accelerating the organization. And we covered this off in detail. We were talking about, hey, it is now a recession environment. Well, that's what's in the news. Regardless, McDonald's is focusing on accelerating. They're not pulling back, they're focusing on accelerating. And I wanted to bring another point here in relation to what McDonald's is doing. And that point is to do with the training, because what was also in that was that the company is implementing new digital tools and platforms so it can free up its employees. Its brightest managers will have more time to analyze the changing environment. So what does that mean? How do you adjust to that? What I wanted to delve into here is explain the training component. Now, when we look at big organizations, large organizations on average spend $1.6 million on training, on educating their employees. And this is where you really need to put that in comparison, especially as small business. Obviously, that's not something where you have the revenue or even, the revenue to actually spend that quantum of money. But that's what you're competing against. When you're looking at that environment, if you just want to keep up with these big organizations, McDonald's, would be spending way more above average. So that's the average. So when you look at it, the top organizations are spending a significant amount of money on training. Why? So they don't fall behind. That's one of the key things you want to be looking at. How are you going to keep up? And to keep up, you need to be training your employees to be focused on adapting to the changing environment. I mean, that's what McDonald's CEO has just come out and said. Yes, 12.6% increase in revenue in a recessive environment. How do they do that? They have systems and processes in place where the employees can adapt and change to that. But it's not the employees do that. It needs to be systematized. What you need to be able to do is have a training regime in place where they understand how those systems work. I mean, how many times have you seen an organization that'll have this wonderful procedures manual, and where is it? On a shelf collecting dust somewhere, or in a drawer, nobody knows what it is. People are not following the system. They are following a system, but not the system. And this is where that training component is highly, highly critical for any organization to keep up, to stay with the crowd, not fall behind. And what we do is bring in a system and process for you not only to keep up, but then to actually move ahead. And that's the critical component, is you want to integrate into your systems and processes, into the way you operate, this component of continuous training. One of the things that people struggle with is change, implementing change. And why is that? Why do we struggle with implementing change? People are creatures of habit. So we don't operate from our conscious mind, we operate from our unconscious mind. And we need to remember, a company is just made up of people operating out of habit. And to change a habit takes, as we know, 21 to 28 repetitive times to actually start that. That's not where it's fully integrated, but just to get that change happening. And this is where that training is so important. You want to be setting up your training so that there is micro learnings. You want to incorporate a bit of gamification in there. This is really critical. That's why computer games are so addictive. They have these little rewards all the way through. Little Mario, as he's jumping through the hoops, he's getting these little gold coins. That releases dopamine. And you want to set up your organization, especially in today's environment, with the demographics shifting. There is less and less workforce available. So if you want to attract the top talent and then have that talent perform, you need to set up a structure of your organization so that it's continually improving. And we have a program, Exceptional Effort, in that is a continuous improvement module, which doesn't add any extra work for anybody to do, but you continually improve. And then from that, you're getting these little rewards. And there's ways that you can do that. Part of that is having a process, a system in place for appreciation, giving people appreciation, having that systematized. It's not random, it doesn't happen, it feels like it's random, but you have a system in place where people are getting that appreciation that they need to feel motivated. It gives them the dopamine rush, gives them serotonin release, so they feel good about being there, about performing well. And that's what you want to reward. And this is where you need to look at it from the business perspective, your business perspective. If you want to keep up, you need to keep in mind that's what you're competing against. Organizations that are spending on average, and that's on average, that's not the most, on average $1.6 million on training their employees to perform better, to be ahead of you. And that's, it's a staggering amount. However, you can do things more efficiently, and that's part of what we do, is we bring in that component of efficiency, being able to implement that change really, really quickly. With one organization, we went from a time card, so antiquated, but they had a time card system where it was handwritten. The employees would handwrite what they did, and then it went to accounts who then billed that to the client. And these were older, mostly older gentlemen. It was an engineering company. And we implemented change. We went to a system where they had an app on their phone. And the 2-hour training that I did, within that training, half of them had downloaded the app, logged in, created an account, logged in, and had started playing with it. While I'm talking them through this, they did that. And within 2 weeks, this whole system was integrated and everyone was happy using it. There were little speed bumps, but we anticipated that. We planned for that. We let them know there are going to be some speed bumps, which is important. Let people know, give them that future, what's likely to happen. This is not going to happen. Any change is not going to be 100% smooth. There are going to be speed bumps. Come to us. We want to hear about those speed bumps. So you want to integrate that into how you operate. So that's the part 2 for this series on a McDonald's result. Recessive environment, their sales increased by 12.6%. The CEO comes out and says they want to accelerate the organization. So while everyone else is pulling back and fearing, McDonald's is accelerating, and that's what you're competing with. That's what you need to be doing so you don't fall behind, that you're not left out there, and because it's so much harder to catch up when you're behind. This is Damian Andrews, growing revenue and profit.